Hello, my friend Taps. How are you?
I'm good. Good to catch up with you. How's it going?
No, it's all fine. It's lovely in Scotland. Great to have you to chat tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about your business, church and family life and everything in between. But just to kick us off, just tell us a little bit about Tapedza and just your business, maybe your church and your family. Just give us an update of who you are, what you're doing, and then we'll delve a little bit into everything after that.
Cool. I've just come from a long day, so if I look tired or sound tired, just bear with me. But I'm a very simple guy. I'd like to see myself as one simple guy. My full name is actually Tapedza Masanganise. I am born and bred in Harare, Zimbabwe. I have a wife, a lovely wife. Her name is Esther. And I have three kids of my own and a fourth that we've just taken in. So three biological and four kids. They're all daughters, lovely kids. And it's a full house, with homeschooling and all this COVID stuff that's going on. So like every parent, I'm having to be a part of this. But much thanks to my wife, who actually does more of that while I'm running the business and doing other stuff. I am part of a group of companies now, which is now called the Steward Group. We have a simple logo that is like that, if you can see, which is really of a person sort of serving. That's the idea. And it's, I don't know if you can see, but that's that would be the brand. But I'll tell you more as we go about the group. And then I am part of a church, Loving Church, which I lead with Rob Hollins and Simba Chinyoa. He's a surgeon. Rob is a minister who's also now running a business in the intercom business. He does security and gates and stuff like that. So he's really picking that up. Simba is a surgeon, and I'm in business in construction. We are the three main elders. We had two others who've left for different calls, and then another one that got added and now left to be in the UK. And the last one was Mike Southall. But I give much thanks to them as well for building this church that's made a great impact in my own life. So Anthony Dube, as well as Zulu Dube, have been quite influential. Excuse me. So that's the team. Currently, three guys who are obviously three couples that are helping to lead this church. It's based in Mount Pleasant, and it's called Kingdom People Church. So we are, the real heart is really to transform the fabric of everyday people, so that each person transforms their home, their community, and the nation at large. So if you have a grounding from within yourself and your home, you lead your family, you love your wife, you love your children. And if you're able to pull that off, it can be quite easy to then get into society, talking to family, friends, and a workplace. So that's kind of where we are. We are everyday people, simple people. We don't have, any I don't know, hierarchy in the church that, you've got to have the pastors being the people that, I guess, worship. But we do teach well, that the people need to respect their leaders, respect their elders as those who give an account over their lives. So we do take the word seriously. But I'm just saying, from our roots, having been trained through the likes of Terry Virgo, we are people who are relaxed. You'll find us in jeans and T-shirts and sneakers, but we do take the word of God seriously. And so we teach that very well. But in terms of leadership, that's the structure you have. Simple people that love God, that are encouraging people to grow in Christ. So that's kind of the church.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. That's a wonderful summary of your life. Sounds really exciting. I'd just love to turn to your business. Can you just tell us, before it became a group, what was it? How did you grow it from a tiny little acorn to what it is today? How did it, blossom, and how did it become that group, the Stewart Group? And what does it, what business is it? Is it construction? Tell us a little bit more about what you do and how that's changed through the seasons of the company.
Great. So I it sounds like I could get teary just thinking about it and seeing the process. So as I said, I'm just a simple guy, and this is not just humility line I'm throwing. It's just that's who I am. My parents are simple people. They weren't rich in any way, raised me well. My dad taught me to work hard, and so did my mom. I remember we actually didn't even have a maid, and in Africa, it's one of those things that you get easily. But I think around the age of 6, my mom said, "You guys are going to have to take care of each other, and you're going to have to take care of the house." So I learned how to make my bed, to wash my clothes, and just to be part of a helping hand in the kitchen. And so the principle of working is something that I'm just putting to the fore, that I think I really got it from my dad and my mom. And I didn't realize it until I was a bit older. And this nudging of wanting to build something that will grow, that will outlive me, started to happen. So how the business started was a very interesting thing, because having knowledge of how to fix things, I was known as a DIY guy, being able to just fix, change light bulbs, fix a car, learn how to buy a car and maintain it, how to hang a picture frame, how to just patch up anything. So from duct tape to everything, you become that guy. And after a while, having rented properties, and as one who was renting properties, I needed to look after them and to pay people who were able to look after them. And I was able to do most of the work, and the stuff I needed to start, learning to fix, like how do you renovate a bathroom? What needs to go under the tiles? What's that? How do you hang a shower glass? And I think this is how the business model started, because the things that people were calling me to help them to do is stuff that I ended up paying other people to come and do. And I thought, wait a minute, I need to find a partner, who's willing to work with me so we can actually build houses and renovate. And while I was thinking and brewing on these things, the name Stewart popped into my mind. And I remember I was on my own, and I opened a WhatsApp group, which was just myself. And I took a picture of bees on my letterbox just outside the house. And I remember that, speaking of hard work and building something, bees are always working. There's a buzz around them. They make the noise, and they generate something that everybody loves. And they don't only make honey, as you know, but they make pollen, and they help with pollination. They help the land to look good and the flowers to grow. And so that was the picture that came to mind. And so I remember this being something that I was passionate about, to bring change into things. So anything that brings change is something that, makes me wake up and get on with my day. So if you look at church, for example, if I can digress for a moment, you meet a young person or somebody who's desperate for strength and encouragement, and you walk with them, and they end up being, people that pick up something along the way. They're encouraged, they find out their strengths, their gifts, and they grow from strength to strength. They didn't know how to speak in public, and suddenly they can do that in church, and they can make an announcement, and next time they're preaching, and you find their lives are changing, and that fascinates me. And equally, I found that if you give me a space that's dead or plain or clear, I want to work it. I want to change fixtures. I want to make it look better. I want, to build bathrooms and all sorts of things. And so my desire to do plumbing also kicked in at the time. So that's one of my favorite things to do in my business. I'm actually the plumber, and I get all the plumbing work done, obviously, with the team. So I like changes, and I like working with rushing water and stuff like that. But as I pondered on this thing, I needed a partner. I found one. We started growing a business, and it really was working from the ground up. No bank check that came from any investor. It was just us, our own vehicles. I had a couple of cars and I had a bit of money, and I went into the hardware, and I remember I spent probably my first $500-600 on tools, everything that I thought I would need. And, my wife was like, are you really sure you want to invest in this thing? What does it look like? You don't even know why you're pouring money. But she was very supportive. And so we really just started with friends. The process of building a business, you start with your nearest network, which is your family. Started talking about it with my family, helping people and being business minded about it. So learning to do costings, learning to reduce costs and build something within a budget and project. And so that's how we started. And it moved to friends, and the friendship circle grew, and then it moved to referrals, and we ran out after that. So now you're having to do branding, you're having to do a website, you're having to work on something that, if you didn't have the next friend telling somebody about you, if you didn't have anything that showed people what you actually did, you needed to lean on something. And so, yeah, this was a very tough time. And it took 3 years of just working who we really were, what kind of business we wanted to run. And while we knew we wanted to be in construction, we needed to know our strengths, we needed to know our weaknesses, we needed to know what we're offering, what is different in the country. A lot of people are doing this stuff. Who are you? Maybe new guys on the market, new guys on the block. What are you offering? And so we decided to focus on homes. And homes is what we do. So we build houses from the ground up, and we also renovate houses. And that became the idea behind how we work and how we market ourselves. So if somebody comes to us and says they want to build a house, we now, because we're stewards, we're not just going to take the money. We basically want to sit down with them and ask them about budgets, ask them what the kind of house, about the kind of house they want to build, and to help people along, because we found that that's what was missing. People were just building, and no one was stopping people to say, well, hold on, your building is 500 square meters of land. It's going to cost you more money. Do you realize that? We like your drawings, but this is what it means. We can do it. We can bring it the way it is, but is this what you really want to do? Do you really want to build a 15-bedroom house? Are you ready? Again, the biblical principle is, you count the cost, before you build anything. And that's what the Bible teaches. So we were bringing that into the business, even without really putting the Bible in front of everybody and saying, no, we're Christians. We're stewards. We look after your money. We look after the land, and we want to build houses that are also, sensitive to the environment. We're going green. And that's how we started the solar division, because, again, we needed to make sure that people can save money by using energy efficient bulbs, energy efficient equipment. So we start to teach people and talk to people about it. You don't just buy a kettle or a quick jug. You have to look at how much power you're drawing, because it's not just about you. It's also the grid. It's talking about inverters that save you money, and systems, and working out something that actually will, in the long run, help people to save in terms of the ZESA usage, which is ZESA is Zimbabwe Electricity Supply Authority. And people just say, they just call power ZESA here. So that's how we birthed a solar company. And while we were doing that, we realized we could make use of the land that we had and to build cluster homes. And again, offering our own design, houses that we design, that we put solar systems that we know will be good for people. Because sometimes when you're just being told what to do and clients are just telling you to fix things according to their design, you may not be able to execute some of your dreams and desires. And we found that this was something that we could do. And in that, we birthed the Steward Properties. which really does a lot more of building houses. And at this point, it's cluster homes. But the heart behind Stewart Construction was to be able to look after people's properties. That's the heart. How do you look after people's properties and save them money while you're at it, and still make a profit? And I can safely say we are actually doing that now. It's possible to make money, not rip people off, and show godly principles. I mean, if you see my builders at work, you won't even know that. Sometimes you won't even tell that they were builders here. They will clean up afterwards. They do extra bits of work along the way that clients haven't paid for. It's in them. It's in us. That's what we do. We will fix the next light bulb for you. We will change, a window pane for you if we're doing it, because we've come in for the work that you've called us to do. The extra bits is some charity we do. We always do something extra. And I found that made us different. We were not clocking in and clocking out, but still making a profit. And we realize it's profitable. The heart behind Stewart Solar is to help people to be knowledgeable about what they buy. So, when you're talking solar, you are talking about energy. And you want to be able to use it where you need it the most. So in Zimbabwe, we have a lot of power cuts. Our government is struggling currently to supply the nation. So we have loss of power from the main grid, and people need to have something that helps them to cook, to do the lights, and to just power the fridge, and to lose. I mean, it's hard enough not having power and then losing all the food that you've bought, which here is more expensive than in most places. So just that the cost of living is expensive, and we're coming in. We're like, okay, yeah, I know we want to make money. It's a business, but we do want to transform people's lives. So with solar, we realized it wasn't a one size fits all thing. And so you can't phone us and say, hey, I just need a solar system. I want to just power my TV and lights, which is generally what people call to do. And we're like, okay, we would like to help you, but what size TV? And we do what we call system sizing. So we come to your house, we check the light bulbs, we tell you, about lumens, we educate people while we're at it. If you're buying lights, do you understand task lights? Do you understand the brightness you need? We talk about the lumens and help them to see that you can actually have more lighting with a bulb that's cheaper to run on your system. And, your batteries are more important at the end of the day. And your inverter informs the kind of panels you buy. And, we talk it through, and it's in many ways, it's something that's draining for most people, because what you want is to get to someone, spend as little time as possible, get the job, get the solar done within 3 days, they're happy, and you walk away. But we want to be able to say, at the very least, understand what this is about. And sometimes we've walked away with our jobs, but we've said to people, here's a document that we've drawn for you, use it. If you call us back, we will come and do exactly this. If anybody comes and they're not doing this, don't accept. Walk away, because there's a lot of rip-offs in our business. So again, you see that stewardship coming in. It's not just about the money. It's helping people understand power and energy. And we have lots of doctors that have called us to do their work because they're busy saving lives, and they just need people they trust. And so they will say to you, look, I don't really know anything about this, or I know ABCD, I just need your input, and I'll be busy. So they will drop the cash at the office, and a few days later we're done, and we take footage along the way, and they can see and track it when they have a few minutes from their office. So that's something we offer. With Stewart Properties, which is the newest part of the baby, the fourth part of the group hasn't started yet, but I can tell you a bit more about it shortly. The third one is the properties. What our heart is to say, we were thinking, what is the most expensive commodity that people want, that everybody wants? And we've realized that in Zimbabwe, a house is the big thing. Everybody wants to own a home. And don't forget, there's quite a number of poor people who've grown in difficult environments as compared to your end. What we do see is generally a good number of people who are well within well above the poverty datum line. And so here it's a bit different. You've got a lot of pressure on the markets. Very few people are employed, and not everybody has an inheritance waiting their way. And so when you're talking about a house, it's a long life investment. People fight over this, and people want to rip off, a widow because they want their house. The husband just died. There's no track record. It's just one of those things that are happening. And I know I may be painting a much difficult picture, or a harsher picture, but there are people who are also boxed up who just want to look after properties, and we've got clients in the Brook, which is one of the most expensive places to live in this country, and we go in and we even pay to do work there. That's how posh it is. But but the heart behind was to say, how do we build something that's nice at the most affordable price? We haven't cracked it all the time, but we are making it in certain circumstances where we're walking people through the options that they have and what they can do and what they can't do and what they should focus on if they really want to just have a house. But when I went to the bank and I wanted to buy a specific house, this is a personal story. I remember sitting and speaking to the bank teller. And my wife was working at an organization that was paying her real money, as opposed to my little business that I was trying to peddle along. Mm-hmm. And so we had money that she was owed. She had over 30 grand owed. And we had a vehicle that was worth about 20 grand. So you're kind of looking at about 50 something. And we were making a little bit at the end of each month. But those two figures, I thought, if I went to the bank and had a conversation, I could probably get a loan and maybe start buying a house. And I remember sitting there, and this bank teller was listening attentively. I shared my story. We had paperwork, we had proof of whatever. And he said, "Do you have this amount in your account?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I'm afraid I can't help you. There's no other way. I need you to have more than 30 grand in your account, and we can then, top you up. We can then talk about the bank rates, and we can talk about your, the percentage that you would have to pay in interest in terms of the loan that you want to get from us." And so I remember walking away with my wife, and we couldn't get a loan to buy a house that we had just been offered by the house we were renting. We'd looked after it well, and so the owner had said, "You have first right of first refusal." So we couldn't buy that, and you can imagine how sad I felt just walking home, realizing I can't deliver a house for my family. So this third division of our company is aimed at getting to a place where we master how to build houses that are durable, that are affordable, and that many people can bank. So once we grow, I would love to see that being something that would be lifted as a banner in the country, a group of companies that will allow people who are obviously good stewards of their money, who have a good track record, and we're using biblical principles, and they can come, starting obviously with the church, because I'm hoping this is where we can have those kind of trades where, understanding, love, and faith will meet. So that's the passion. How do we deliver homes to Zimbabweans, to people like me who couldn't afford to raise 30 grand? In a flash, how do we work that around? What can they pay? Is there a mortgage system we can work? I mean, a down payment system that they can use and to pay over time. How we are in the process of doing this now, but we obviously need to break the $1 million mark for us to do that. Unfortunately, if you're going to help other people, you've got to grow first, and then it's like when you're on a plane, right? And they tell you the instructions. If we lose air, you've got to grab the mask for yourself and then assist, because if you don't, you're all just sinking. So that's the heart behind the three divisions of the business that we run with my friends. And so that's where we are. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to double click on, and happy to share.
Yeah, that is incredible. Thanks so much, Tap. That's a wonderful story. Yeah, I'd just like to just double click on, I guess, how did you choose your partners? Maybe just how you sort of vetted them. How did, I don't know how complicated that process was, or it just happened. Tell us about that, and maybe if you made any mistakes in that, and how you learned from that, and just let's just look at that a little bit, just how you grew from that one division to the other aspects of it.
Yeah, so in many ways, we're a small company. I think that's something that I didn't really didn't share. So today has actually been exciting. My partner told me he hired the 10th person today. He had a meeting. So today we just added a new member to the group, but on the Stewart Construction division. So when we talk about people being paid here, you must understand that you've got to offer genuine salaries where people can actually live. The government stipulates something that is really stupid, forgive me, but I couldn't find a better way, because when when my friend told me that his mum, who was a teacher, was earning very little, that she couldn't live on the offer, and that's where, I mean, for me, I was saying, these are stipulated rates by government that are not really helping real people. So we've wanted to say we can scale up slowly, but offer something that somebody can take home, be able to buy groceries, be able to actually, maybe pay rent and choose a place to live within a reasonable budget. We are not God. We are not extra rich people. We're not even rich, but we are trying to build a model that we know, God teaches us. You cannot muzzle the ox that tread the grain. So it was very important for us to have that as a principle. And so when people are hired, we have this conversation. Oh, no, can we push up our salaries to this? We'll say, no, we cannot afford that. This is what we can afford, and this is why. And you're signing up to do this, and these are the traits we need. These are the characteristics we're looking for. And it's not just your skill. Are you going to be able to live in this environment? And we have these conversations, obviously, during an interview. And so, a 10th person, I think, has been added today. I thought it was 11, but I think it's 10. So from the beginning, obviously, I started with a young man who was doing construction on the side. We came in and we merged. Obviously, took the name that was on my heart, which is Stewart Construction. So that's the mother company that started this thing. And, we had a good run for a number of years until the ethos was a bit different. So when we sat down, he decided to walk away. We're still very good friends. We just aren't working together. But the reason I felt to find people that could see I couldn't build a business that I didn't understand. So I spent a lot of time on the ground, working with my own hands. Like I said to you, I can do a number of things myself. Plumbing is my favorite, but I can paint, I can build, but after a few layers, you can see the wall, going skunk. But small things I can do. I can do carpentry. In fact, I did carpentry in school. And I think my gift also has to come into play, and I must acknowledge that God has given me that gift. I can't watch a worker for too long without me being able to pick up whatever they're doing. As long as my hands can do it, as long as my eyes can see it, I can do it. And I kid you not, a lot of the stuff I just learned by watching. And I believe the Spirit of God in me taught me along the way. So if you say to me, how did you learn, designing? I don't know. If you say to me, how were you able to learn plumbing? I just watched. And then obviously, went to school for it, which I'm doing now. I'm actually doing it through a course in the UK, and I'll tell you more about that. But it's an online school, and hopefully when I'm done, I'll pay for the certificate and I'll be a certified plumber shortly. I just haven't had time to sit and just complete that, but I know I will. I've already passed a few modules. But that's something that I've seen God do. So with my first partner, that was a frustration for them, that I was on the ground a lot. And I was saying, I need to understand this. I need to see how clients react. I need to be there. And then I think they were also busy. It was part-time for them and it was part-time for me. And it was a difficult time altogether. And so I think I don't know if I could call it a mistake, but probably it was just naivety. You know, I thought I could run a company full-time on the side while I was doing something else. And I think so that's something that I probably would change if I could go back. The next person really, as I said, was somebody that was from within the church who I was discipling. And at the time he was doing a degree at a different school. And he didn't like what he was doing. He was doing anatomy. And it was one of those things that he just didn't like. He wanted to be an engineer. So I asked him to take a gap year and to do whatever I was doing. And because I was the pastor, he kind of listened. But I remember him saying, and do what? And I said, just do what I do. And he graciously agreed. We offered to take him on board, and he was doing worship. So we took him from his hometown, and he moved very permanently. And we made sure that we would cover his school fees. And we made sure that he would be full-time in terms of church and to do whatever I was doing, which was life and plumbing and anything. And figuring out who I was.
Incredible.
So he was doing the same along the way. And, this whole thing about knowing people and building relationships was a key thing for us. So I took this young man to Zambia a number of times serving. And when I'm in Zambia and in other places around Southern Africa and Zimbabwe itself, I serve missionaries from America. Many people I met. We clean toilets, we cook food, and we look after them while they're there. My goal is to make sure none is sick. That's a trade that I learned, which is guiding. And I was teaching him this thing along the way, and he was serving with me, and it just helped my heart to be right. So when I was not leading a church, I would do this on the side. So it just reminds me that I'm a servant of God, reminds me that I'm just a person, a regular person. And Paul does say that he is, he says, I am Paul, a servant of God. And it's not, I'm Pastor Paul. It's not, I'm Bishop this. I know people throw their title first before their name, but I think before God, we are just all children. We are sons and daughters of the Most High God. And I needed to see myself for that. And this serving helped me to do that. So I'd spend time cleaning stuff and cooking, and I'd love it. And I'd sing along the way. And I'd pray at some point, and they'd ask me to do a devotion, and I'll do that. And some of them didn't even know I was leading a church until they get to know me. And it's not something that I would say, I'm part of a leadership. But that's something that would happen. And he was watching all this while, and he was with me, and he'd ask lots of questions, and he would talk about my business. And then I offered him an opportunity to work with me. And I said, but I don't have a lot of money, but this is what it means. And I was training him. And sure enough, he changed universities. He found his passion in engineering, and he got an engineering degree. But before he graduated, while we were in Zambia, a couple, we did a dinner for them in the bush, candlelit, and it's just fancy. And I cooked a storm. At the time, steaks and stuff, and they had knives, and I actually went to the shop, bought these things, and imagine there's dust, there's nothing. This is a mission and missionaries who've come to serve Africa, and they're not looking for anything fancy, but we just thought they've left wives and children, and now they want to just have a dinner. They're going to miss, if they were home, what would they do? They would obviously go to a restaurant, celebrate their marriage, and it was a couple that we did that for, and they just, I remember the wife saying to me, this is the most amazing experience I've had in terms of our anniversaries, and it's one I'll never forget. And he got to learn that the husband was actually an engineer in one of the big companies in the world, as far as I know. And so he got an opportunity. This is my partner I'm talking about. He got an opportunity to go and serve in America for 6 months under this engineer's guidance. And he lived in the States for 6 months, worked for a big construction company, learned as much as he could. And while he was there, he was phoning me, he was texting me, he was telling me, we've got to do this when we come back. We're going to do this when we come back. And I could feel the heartbeat. I could feel that this is a steward, this is a director thinking. I could feel it. And I remember saying to God, when he comes, I would love him not to be employed anywhere else. I need to be able to employ this guy. And so he came back, and he hasn't been employed by anybody else but by the group since he came. And so by the grace of God, he came with systems that we've put in place. Obviously, we've got to tweak them to Zim standards. He learned about codes. He learned about doing things to standard. And my experience of Americans is they just, you go big, or, you go home, and they do things to a standard that I've admired over the years, whatever it is that they do. And mostly I've worked with Christian Americans. So I am biased towards them because those are the ones that came and I traveled with, and I learned a lot from them myself. And so he came back buzzed, and he was ready to rock and roll. And I said to him, look, when you graduate. So by the way, he was also, being checked out at Virginia Tech, and that's where he got his internship certified after a while. His school here in Zim had actually refused initially his university, but after a while, then they said, oh no, that's fine. We'll take whatever the Virginia Tech instructors and deans are saying. And so he aced it. He got his attachment certified, and he graduated after a while. So this is Ronald I'm talking about. He's now a director, and I remember sitting with him and saying, it goes without saying, I'm going to give up my shares. So he was the first that came on board. And at the time I thought, I'd rather be a person who owns shares of $1 million company as opposed to, or a multi-million dollar company, as opposed to, owning 100% shares of a company that just brings $30 home, So my heart was to grow, and to do that, you've got to sacrifice. You give up part of what you have. So he was now the next guy. But we didn't do the paperwork then. But I said to him, you're now a director, and I need you to be able to start collecting dividends, as we go. And he was more about, let's put in systems. And for the next 2 years, he and I put systems in place, administration, paperwork, accounting, everything that just to comply with ZIMRA, which is really our regulation authority here, our revenue authority in this country. And so that's how I picked the first guy. The second guy was quite interesting because he did come from a fairly well-up family. His father is late, and he had some properties that he was struggling with. So he came to me, and he was talking to me as a pastor, and he said to me, look, I need you to be able to come and see this property. So he was a very humble guy. I went to look at the property, and I said to him, where do you live? He says, I'm renting. My face fell. I said, you're renting? Man, I just went at him, and I said, you can't be renting. You've got to leave. You've got to come home. We must make sure you come home. We need to figure out what's wrong with your property, and you live there. And I remember us doing this diagram and figuring out how you can rent certain parts and where he could live. And he said, one day he said, would you mind if I just tagged along with you while you do your work? I said, no. So he did that for months. For a whole year, he was doing that. And, he said to me, you know what? I really want to be a part of this thing, if you don't mind. I've watched you work. I love your work. We did his mom's house, and we executed it well. She was very happy. They're an older couple. And he said, I watched what you did with my mom's house, and this just fascinates me. And he said, I called him. He said, there's not one thing that has been able to get me to wake up and be motivated as this. And wow, so he's a lovely guy. I got to know him. I got to know his wife and his children. And he eventually came and joined. So we settled on that. It's now the three of us. We are officially the directors. We're not making a big deal about it at the moment. We just want to build a thriving business. So I'm currently known as a project manager. And so that's my card, my business card, that I throw around, and that's the back of it. So I know that I would not have done what I've done without God. I know that the clients that we're tapping into now, I had phone calls. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to seal a deal of a couple, of a family that's building a house for their mom. And this is a market, excuse me for using black and white, but in Zim, it seems just white people seem to want to give business to white people. And black people want to give business to black people, you know, and some white people, but it's kind of skewed in that way. But this is now breaking into the color and race barrier, which I think is what the gospel does. If you're Indian, if you're colored, if you're white, if you've got godly principles, if your business principles are right, we will use you. And this is exactly what this woman did. She's white. She called me and she said, I know what you've done. I know your work. I've looked at your website. I've heard of your history. I've never worked with you, but I want you to know that I want to work with you. You know, we met. 3 meetings later, she said, I want you to know that I'm not finding any other contractor. You are it. And just before this meeting, she sent me a message to say, can you come? We need to discuss payments. And so I know that this is something that I can't say, you know, I knew her from Bar of Soap. She found us online. She called us and it worked. So that's how we are now. We live as brothers. Our families are here. They've watched the struggle. They know what it means. But we're now living in our own estate, which obviously we're paying off. We haven't got all the money yet. But we, in fact, when we actually spoke to the owner, they gave us the land for free. And they said, you pay us when your business is growing. So that's something that I can't say to you. You know, the loan that I couldn't find from the banker, I look back and I smile. I'm like, you know, here we go. I'm a landowner now by the grace of God. So I would definitely say to you, my Christian faith, my heart and belief and my walk has paid off, if you want to use worldly terms. But in many ways for me, it's just has shown us the grace of the Almighty God who's brought me brothers. And I can tell you about these two guys that they will give their lives for me. And if I died today, I know that even without any paperwork, my family won't lose out on their inheritance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Taps, this story is just incredible. I think I need a part 2 at some point, but I think just you've got a family, I've got a family, we need to go back and look after them and do the bedtime routine. But that's been incredible, just looking over the history of your company. And just for those who are watching, Zimbabwe's got problems with, you know, hyperinflation, currency issues, power issues. That's all the stuff that Taps hasn't mentioned. So the story is in a different environment to most of what we're used to in the West. So I just want to exhort this guy. Just thank you for taking the time, Taps. It's been absolutely amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I just wanted to say, if there's people who feel connected to me and they want to invest in the property market, obviously we can help with that and walk through accounts and stuff like that. And I know that's something that you know very well from your trade. But maybe someone is watching and they want to be a part of it. We do have 16 units that we're selling, that we're building. And, you know, if you wanted to invest back home and it's something that you think you feel called to do, we'll be glad to partner with you on that. So, Lloyd, thank you so much. I really wanted to say thank you. I've appreciated you since we met. You've been a man of stature, somebody that's just a man of his own word, and just your love for me. And I do see you as my brother in many ways. And thank you for just being who you are and connecting. You know, when you come, you make an opportunity, you make it a priority to meet with us and to be with my family and to check on how we're doing. And you always phone to say, how are you doing? So I just wanted to thank you officially for who you are. And may God bless your work and your family and everything you do.
Thanks a lot, Taps. Absolutely mutual, my friend.